Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Face the Trader. My name is Fred Gwertz, and today we are thrilled to have Sam Price with us. Sam is also known as the Crypto Lifer, a self-taught market analyst, and literally a year-round live streamer. His crypto accounts skyrocketed during 2017 during the bull run, and that gave him time and finances to achieve his ambitions, and now his goal is to help others do the same. Sam, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, and Sam, it's your first time on the show. I want to let you know it is mine as well. So we are in this together. Cool. Well, to kick things off, there was something very unique I noticed on your website is that you are a big Mark Twain fan. How did that come about?
Just growing up in Boston, there's a very big weight on education. Just most of the world, but Boston really, they really pride themselves. Like people don't talk about how much money they have; they talk about how many degrees they have, right? It's like, and there's I went to one of the oldest public high schools in the country, the oldest public high school in the country, Boston Latin, and we got a really rigorous, we took English and reading, and I remember having to read Mark Twain and understanding who he was as a person, and thought it was amazing that I could feel affected by somebody who wasn't alive more than some people that were alive. Like he did so much in his life that he affected me in his death. And there was people that lived on the earth that didn't do that. And he was gone. And that did something to me. And I think that's when I didn't know at the time that I was basically introduced to what legacy was. But that's, basically as a kid, I was experiencing, wow, this, I didn't know that was legacy, right? And I think that's what spurred my interest in him, like how someone could be so well known that they could impact you after their death. And to me, that is the key to that's success. If you can do that, you've hit it. You've hit it way more than billions and millions. Like you've hit a level just most people will never hit.
Yeah, and actually, this week when I was doing a little bit of research, I found myself down a rabbit hole of Mark Twain research after I saw that, and very, very fascinating life. Now, coming back, being the crypto lifer, it sounds like you live and breathe cryptocurrencies. But let's just start outside of that. What other maybe passions or talents you have outside of the crypto world, and have they played a role in the journey that you're on?
Yeah, I got into film and television at a young age. My sister went to Emerson, and you could bring, one of your siblings to the dorm room for a weekend. It was like come to college for the week, right?
Yep.
So she brought me to Emerson, and Emerson was amazing. I believe Dan Aykroyd went there. A lot of famous people, and a lot of people that care about the arts too, that were passionate about the arts, and it has a really good community for that reason. And I felt that immediately just going there. And she did a stop motion video with me when must have been 14. I also did a little video with her. And when I saw that she took a bunch of pictures and with a film camera and turned them into a film, I was like, oh, that I got it. Like I figured out how film was just frames and you could manipulate the frames. And like something happened to me when she carved a pumpkin taking pictures, and then they flipped it, right? And it was just pictures, but you could see the pumpkin getting carved in real time, right? And it blew my mind, right? It's a flip book, right? It's simple things really get to me because I see the intricacies that I think other people miss, and they get me excited. And that told me, wow, there's something to the moving image. There's something to media. There's something to art. And I got in, luckily, a friend of mine was going to the Institute of Contemporary Art in Boston. And I followed him after school when I was like 15. And they were doing a really small, private, kind of educational film group where they were splitting people into actors, writers, and cameramen. And we were making small films. And I did that for 3 years from 15 to 18. So by the time I was 18 years old, I wanted to go to school for film. I was into media. I was a rapper. I had been making albums on, my own little music. And I was playing instruments, and I just wanted to be involved in art in some way, shape, and form. I wanted to be involved in media. I would record my own albums. I would master them. I would understand how the studio works. Like here, I have good audio because I care. I don't have someone that set this up for me. I'm an audio engineer. I'm a video engineer. I know my green screens. I used to work for David Letterman. I eventually worked all my way up in the post-production facility. Long story short, all the way to work for David Letterman, where I was on big calls with Netflix, handing off deliverables, making sure what you saw on TV, I was the last person to have that file and make sure that when it went on air, you were going to see what you were supposed to see. I know the intricacies behind broadcast and how the whole TV industry really works and how media works. And I took that and brought that into how I do my show and how I interact. And I think that gave me a little bit of an edge in YouTube that not everybody else had.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That you were doing this before you started doing your live streams with trading. And I bet there's a lot of people out there that do the live streams or some sort of recording where they just started because of the trading. Let's say you were kind of the opposite. You were already doing audiovisual work and just became a trader and were able to stream that live to your followers.
My life can make you cry. Like it's we it's beautifully coincidental how this is what I always wanted to do. And then finance brought it back into my life. And then I'm here. It lets me know that I did follow my destiny and God had a plan.
Yeah, that's great. And from a career standpoint, then I know from the production side, was there did you do that up until you started with Bitcoin and crypto, or was there anything else that you did in your career along the way?
Yeah, it's crazy. I started out of school, took me a little bit to get a job. I got out of college and I was like, I got to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. I had odd jobs, but not like a job in my career. I wanted to be a real estate agent. I did that. And then eventually I took a job for like, I think it was like $500 a week, shipping the film equipment for post production. And I worked my way up. Like that's kind of how I started. And I worked my way up and worked my way up. And around 2008, I saw Peter Schiff go on YouTube, I'm pretty sure, and he said, "Hey, there's going to be a housing crisis and it's going to go down." And they laughed at him and no one really said that. And everyone thought it was going to be fine. And then the housing crisis occurred. And I started buying gold and silver bars. And that was really the beginning for me. 08, 09, I'm buying gold and silver bars. And then I realized you could trade gold and silver. Eventually I realized you couldn't carry it forever. Like I had literally 40 grand of it. And 20 grand of silver is pretty heavy if you have a silver
Yeah.
and you're a silver holder. And I realized in an Armageddon, I would put it on a backpack and you'd almost need MRE packs and socks, and it didn't make sense if I was going to try to take my wife, my kid, and like get out of New York City in a horrible time. And then I found Bitcoin. So, but I was always since '09, and I was working a night shift back then in '09. I worked a night shift for 6 years of my life from 7 to 3 in the morning. I felt like I was never going to make it. And just, I never really truly fit in. See, God had a really big plan for me. And I was trying to put myself into everyone else's little plan. Like compare, why am I not just a lawyer? Why am I not just a producer? How come I don't make 200 grand a year? God had plans for me to make millions and to do something huge with my life. But so when I wasn't hitting the little milestones, I was depressed, right? But I didn't realize God was planning. And I want someone to hear me now. Like if you're struggling or in this place, we all hit these moments for a reason. I truly believe. And if we can extrapolate that, at one point when we get older, we can look back and see what the reason was that. And we can take that information and use it to propel ourselves to our next level.
Yeah,
But I was
and
always in the background to answer your true question. I was always in the background throwing money. Once I realized gold was too heavy, I found Bitcoin and I realized you could memorize the seed phrases. And I said, wow, like that changes my problem with the gold now. And I could start just stashing this stuff. And no one will know that I have it all except for me. And I thought that was amazing. And then you could travel around, people take your gold, you could travel. And I started stacking Bitcoin, in 2000. Like I knew about it 2016 and I was trading other coins, but I really started stacking it in 2017 when it was around 800 to $1,000.
wow. And how steep of a learning curve did you have to go through for that? So you're working night shift, you're buying physical metals, which is tough to do with transportation, security, all of that stuff. Like you said, it's heavy. To also trading it. How did you go through that from a learning curve standpoint?
This is gonna be a cool answer. You ever watch the movie Braveheart? Right?
I have, yes.
And like what makes him lead people so well, he gets a little angry, doesn't he? Like he gets wronged, right? And when you get wronged, like you tend to want to make it right. And once I learned that the monetary system was folly, that it was a Ponzi scheme, like they were printing money to zero, and my parents had worked so hard and they didn't really understand like that the Federal Reserve was private. Like my dad was like, "You're a conspiracy theory." I was like, "Dad, it's a private entity. It's not run by the government." And I became a little like, in a way, I was like, I need to get mine now. And there was this sense that I was being stolen from every single day. And I think the learning curve was hard and it wasn't easy, but it came from my desire to be like, no, like you will not keep stealing from me. I will find a way to get out of the US dollar, which are going to print to zero. I'll find a way to keep my wealth mine. It's mine. I worked hard for it. Why should I work 10 years for you to print 3 of those years to zero? Even more, really 5. Think about it. In 10 years, the average person may really get paid for 4.5 after inflation and taxes, man. You know what I mean? And I felt that those wasn't right, especially when I saw tax dollars not really being used correctly and no one knowing really where they went. It was just so it didn't make sense to me. And I felt like I was also a math. I am very innately good at math, and I have a hyperactive brain. And when I want something, I don't stop until I get it. And I think with that combined edge of consistency and desire, it didn't matter how hard the learning curve was or what I had to figure out. Like I was going to get out of my current situation and make a change. You know,
Yeah, and I think that would make sense to everybody. I think everybody in the world would want to control their own destiny, whether
I
it's
was
from a
sick. You know,
financial
I was
side or a
yeah.
life
Enough was
side.
enough for me. Yeah.
Right. So you were trading other stuff before you got into like Bitcoin. Are you still trading other markets right now? Or are you strictly trading cryptocurrencies?
I could trade any market I want in the world, really, at any moment in time. Like the way I look at it, I even showed that today on the stream. I was bouncing from Walmart to I was showing how my strategy works on almost any different thing that you can use, you know. And I was back testing it and trying to give people a quick intro to what I did for 10 years to figure out how it all clicked together. But I also believe in centered focus and desire of centered focus. And the universe tends to know what you're like highly pinpointed on, and you get the most feedback and the most bounce back, if I can say that, if you know what I mean by like you send a frequency out and you get something back from that. And when you hone in like a laser dart, I feel like you get the most out of that situation. And so like I hone in on like for instance, if I was trading a bunch of markets and Bitcoin took a big dip, I might put a little bit of money into Bitcoin and have it spread, but like I knew when to buy more Bitcoin at the right time, focused on Bitcoin. So I have Mara which is one of my stocks that I own, but I don't know. I mean, I have a shirt. Bitcoin's my retirement plan. Like I got on it early enough. I'm so far ahead of the curve at this point that now just accumulating dips is good enough for me. I don't need to be greedy. I'm happy where I'm at in life, and uh, you know, yeah, I feel like long term success through Bitcoin really helped me, and I stay on that focus. So yeah, I stay really mainly crypto. Mara is the only thing I have in the stock market right now, and that's a Bitcoin miner. So it's like,
Right. It's related.
and it underperformed. Like I thought it was going to outperform when Bitcoin went up, and and I put money in both, and my Bitcoin has outperformed Mara right now so far. Maybe it will come back. So I'm always every time I deviate, I almost like I bought real estate recently when Bitcoin was like 25 and I put a 500,000 into real estate. Yes, it's cash producing. It's great cash flow and fine. But had I just put that money in and then taken it out now, I would have quadrupled it. So, every time I kind of don't go all crypto, I almost feel like it's I always say, hey man, I should have stayed on what I was doing.
Well, I guess what would you say would be kind of your percentage of what you're trading in Bitcoin versus maybe the other cryptocurrencies? I would assume that Bitcoin's a little bit more heavier for you, but is there some kind of split there?
I always like when I start off, I always like this 30-30 rule. Like and I like to start with like 100 grand. Like if you had 100 grand, 30 grand, I'm putting into Ethereum, Bitcoin, and maybe like BNB or Solana, right? The top coins. And then of that 30 grand, probably 20 is going into Bitcoin,
Okay.
right? Right. And then the other 30 grand is going into anything from let's say a billion market cap to maybe 2 to 3 billion, maybe 800 million, but like, I want to keep it in the safer zone of a blue chip. AVAX, stuff like that, maybe, Cardano. And then the other 30, I'm going into things that are, between, let's just say 300 and 100 million. Then I'm splitting that third into thirds, the last 30. So I have a third of the 100 grand. Then I'm splitting the other third into high risk, very risk, and extreme risk, right? And then sometimes I even take that last third and put that into extreme risk, right? But the majority of my portfolio will be in Bitcoin, I foresee, and it's over 60 to about 70% of my portfolio.
Yeah, does that ratio change at all depending on the markets, or are you pretty consistent through
No,
all of your
because that
trading?
would incur a short-term capital gain, and I'm in Bitcoin long term, and I
Yep.
plan not to sell Bitcoin. I plan to use it as collateral. That's my goal. Like 2 or 3 years, maybe even 5 years. I think some people are even doing it now, but it'll be far more prevalent 10 years for sure. I'll be able to walk in, connect a wallet. There'll be some type of paperwork behind the wallet, something, right?
Right.
Verificationable, and then I'll be able to just borrow $1 million off of, 20 Bitcoins when they're worth a couple hundred grand a piece or something. And I think, you'll pay off your loan, boom, 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 you'll unlock the Bitcoin and you'll be able to use it as collateral. So if I were to swap in and out, you know what I mean? Fine. I might make more money momentarily, but there would be a capital gaining cost there on a short term move. And so, no, I mean, I'm either buying more Bitcoin for the long term or I'm buying all coins that I'm going to sell later on to put a portion of the profits into Bitcoin and take the portions of the profits to live in.
Great. Well, I'm going to circle back to kind of the audiovisual production side of things that we were discussing earlier. You're known for your live streams from Monday to Monday, all week, right? Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. I was told you haven't taken a day off in probably over a year. Uh, oh, wow.
It's so long that people don't believe it. Like people don't believe it, but it's February of 2021 was the last physical day I may have taken a skip from one stream to the next.
Well, I kind of have a parter on that. How do you do that for so long without taking a break? And I guess why? Why are you doing the streams for your followers?
Uh, yeah, it's a pretty deep question. Number one, I may have some type of OCD. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't want to label myself, but I have some type of like type A. When I set myself to do something, it has to be done. I feel really rewarding from the live stream. It feels really good. I get an endorphin out of it. I get a kick out of it. I help somebody. I get a lot of feedback. Honestly, my day feels amazing when I check that off my list. So once I started consistently doing it, I just couldn't make up a reason why I couldn't do it. Number two, people pay me $99 a month. I think that's a big deal to take money from people online. Other people do it in and out. I think it's a really big deal. I think you really have to have integrity and you really have to show up. And if you're going to pay that money, I'm going to be there, 7 days a week. Also, what's more important than my own business, right? If it supports my family, supports my life, it's the reason you guys are interviewing me. It's the reason I got anywhere I am. My live stream was the beginning of it all for me. I just closed on a beautiful house in a gated community. Like all the things that are happening in my life are because of that stream. I feel it would be a disservice to God and to all the opportunities I was given to even take a day off. Who am I? It's almost a sense of appreciation and gratitude towards the amazing opportunities I was given. And I take it so seriously. And maybe I take it a little too seriously, but to me, it's that important not to be there every day. And I was really depressed and I went through a lot of pain. And I would go online and I met the Grant Cardones, the Bob Proctors, the Jim Rohns, these people, Tim Robbins, these people got me out of rut some days when I really thought I was just gonna like drink myself stupid or just go into a darker depression. And I believe every day is a day for someone out there. And maybe not tomorrow, maybe not today, but if I'm every day, then one day I'm going to be that guy for someone. But if I take even one day off, maybe that person will click and I won't be there. So I want to make a change. I really do. And if you truly desire to make a change, consistency is the best way to do it. Like no days off, because over time you will make the change because you'll always be there. So mathematically, I went over the odds and I said, man, I'll really achieve my goals. I'm a business guy. I'm a competitive business guy. My business runs 7 days a week. It's really awesome to have a business that runs 7 days a week. I'll tell you that. Making money Saturday and Sunday is great. 8 days a week that other people are sitting, drinking beer, spending money. I'm making money. There's not a day that I don't make money, you know? So, I am a businessman. I love entrepreneuring. I'm addicted to the grind. And then lastly, my channel was deleted when it had 1,000 subscribers and I got 800 super chats that day, $800 in super chats. And it was a really big deal. And I freaked out. And I had started multiple businesses in my life that I'd spent like a year or two in, but didn't do that last year of hard work. See, I tell everyone, even 5 years, everyone thinks they'll put in 2 to 3 years into something. And then they'll be like a few months away from a breakthrough and they'll give up. And then they'll be like, and then they'll get depressed because, I spent 3 months and then they'll do another thing. And that was me. I would do like 2 years of something, 3 years of something and then just not push through that veil of what it really meant to be successful. And it would look back as a failure to me and just another wasted couple of years. And so my channel had like 2 to 3 years in and then deleted. And I felt like it was one of those failures. And I got really depressed. I'll be honest with everybody, like really down. And I said, like, God, this was what I truly wanted to do. I was announcing, I was doing the math. I said, man, I knew for a fact that's where I wanted to be without a doubt in my mind. For the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I wanted to do and exactly my direction. But it took that getting stolen from me to know that. And I prayed that night. And usually you don't get in touch with the YouTube rep for days. You're on Twitter. Somehow 3 a.m, I got in touch. They reversed everything. It was miraculous how crazy my channel was back on like a day later. And I took it as a sign to never, ever, ever take advantage. And then I saw other YouTubers who had, I was at 20,000, they were at 60,000 or 70,000. They took time off, they played games. I'm above them now, or I'm even with them now, or I'm just as known or just as big in the crypto space. And it's because like they decided to take their foot off the gas, man. And I don't want that to happen to me or my channel. Like I want to keep grinding and I want to show people what you get when you do that.
Yeah, well, how do you balance that? And even outside of the stream side of things, just from the trading side, I bet there's traders out there that just get really burnt out because it is everything. Like I said, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How do you balance that trading side to the home life side without kind of stepping out of the bubble?
It's a great question. And I go for this, man. I call myself a weirdo. What do you mean? It's like whenever you say burnout, right? We repeat what a lot of people say, right? And again, there is a balance to life, and I'll talk about that. But for me, it's about staying present. Um, I talk about it a lot sometimes in the show, or even to my family. If you told me today I was going to live stream until June 27th of 2025 without a day off, I'd probably get really overwhelmed. And I'd probably get a little anxiety. And I'd be like, what do you mean? How many? What? But I don't do that. I know that today I live streamed, and I know that tonight I'll get a good night of sleep. I'm already planning my afternoon, so my night will be mellow. I know tonight I'm probably going to go in my jacuzzi around 10 or 11. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to watch the moon. I'm going to rest my mind. I'm going to have a really good sleep tonight. I'm already planning that. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to go on some drug binge. Like I'm going to keep myself where I need to be for my family and for my subscribers and for my trading group. And then at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm going to be there. And so I broke it down into present moments, and that doesn't mean I don't finish my stream some days at 12 or 1, and I don't take my family to the beach from 1 to 6, or I don't get invited to go golfing, or I don't go to a shooting range. But then I'm back at 7 and I work till 11 at night going through the charts again. I work my own business so I can work whenever I truly please. Every once in a while, it's rare, but I'll wake up a little too early, like 3 or 4, and I'll start working. And then I get that 5 to 8, and sometimes I catch a trade then too, because some liquidity. So I go back to the present moment every time. I stay in a state of gratitude throughout the day, constantly reminding myself of how, I had a baby last night. My third daughter was born last night.
Really? Congratulations.
Yeah, like I saw her come out, like I was there, like it was when someone said that's the closest you get to like feeling God in a room is like watching a baby being born. And like I just I know I'm a money guy. I know I do finance, but like I always want to reiterate and talk about how important human life is, how important experiences are. And I think that really helps me stay so I don't get burnt out. Like and I know I tell my students, like tonight, I just wrote to my trading group right before this. I like to trade Monday night into Thursday afternoon when there's the most volume and liquidity.
Right.
The volume dries up Thursday. So like I'm not going to sit and stare at the charts all afternoon today and burn my brain out. I'm going to know, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to spend an hour analyzing and set some alerts for maybe something that might come up tonight. So there's ways to do it. And I'm better. And now that I've been doing it for years, I'm really good at like having my fun, getting back to my focus. And again, there's still a struggle. I'm sure most people would still call me a workaholic. And there's times I need to be dragged away from work, but I'm getting a lot better at balancing it, and it becomes a practice.
Yeah, that's good. And congratulations again. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I can't believe it.
Well, I was going to switch back. I know we were talking about gold and silver earlier. I've heard you mention that you earlier in your career you started recognizing the similarities between gold and Bitcoin, which is very interesting. Could you just expand on that a little bit on how they correlate?
I make this funny metaphor about being wet and dry, right? So if I hold the US dollar in my pocket's wet, and I don't want my pocket to be wet. I want my pocket to be dry. Wet meaning like it's dripping, like I'm losing value. It's. And so I noticed when I parked myself into the dollar, I mean into the gold, I was dry, right? I was on dry land, let's just say. The dripping stopped. Now, how much the dripping stopped or how far away I got away from the shore, I only got a little far away, but it kept me far away. Bitcoin seemed to keep me way further away from the shore, right? It was just far better of an inflationary asset. They both kept their value over time compared to the dollar. Facts, right? But Bitcoin's deflationary every 4 year halving. And the fact that you could find more gold at any moment in time throughout the world, we don't know. We could hit a mine. I'm not saying it's
Right.
still hard. We have to drill. There's energy involved. Cool though. You can't say that Bitcoin did not take its fundamental root structure from gold. We say Bitcoin mining, don't we? Where the heck did we get that from? From mining gold. All right. Bitcoin really, someone watched gold and what gold did. And I really think they extrapolated all the value that gold gave, but looked at the encumbersome nature of what it was to trust someone with it or to have it in your own whole hand, right? And it's heavy to have all your own gold. Also, study gold throughout history. Even if I'm a multi-millionaire like the czars, famous, gigantic empires that had tons, eventually they fell and raided, and someone broke into that tomb. Like if you go over history and you're a historian, go research how long gold stays in the hands of the family. Eventually, gold passes hands, right? And so, like,
Right.
Bitcoin was immutable, but they're similar in so many ways, right? They keep you, they're a great store of value compared to the dollar. Over time, you have what you put in, usually the day you put it in. Like if you put $3,000 into gold 10 years ago, you're going to have more than $3,000 usually and some, right? But at least it's going to keep what you had. And even if Bitcoin and gold only stayed flat, they'd be amazing. The fact that we get this deflationary aspect to it is just an add-on to the fact that you're not in the dollar.
Yeah.
Is that a good explanation, or is there anything else I could say?
No, that was perfect. And kind of on top of that, crypto, specifically Bitcoin, is very cyclical, and the value fluctuates through these recurring cycles, right? What do you think drives that cyclical nature of Bitcoin and crypto?
Well, it goes back to the fact of just go watch any chart. All right. Again, it goes back to how I extrapolate data from multiple charts from many different assets and see the similarities between behavior. I say to everyone, how can I justify that I can trade any market? Well, I've studied these set of indicators for 10 to 15 years, and I know that where the influx of energy comes from. And what I mean by that is human emotion, right? So like, if here's our trading platform and say we're selling rice for USD or whatever the asset is, orange, rice, oil, right? Whatever oranges, whatever you want, whatever it is, crude oil, humans go in and buy, and they create a frenzy of desire, which starts the movement up in the charts, right? And then people that are high, that are up and have doubled their money, think, wow, that's pretty good. And they take some profit. And then slowly the selling occurs. And then the people that didn't sell start to sell off. And so I watch the ebb and flow of emotions, right? And that kind of creates the movement of all the world markets in a way. So, as you see, kind of what happens. So basically, you can figure out how, somewhat predictable how a market will react based on its scarcity or based on, how, if it is over, if there's too much of that product at one point, if there's oversupply. So what Bitcoin does is it halves every 4 years, right? On top of that, you have this feeling that the banking system isn't so concrete. And every few years, it seems like the banking system gets a little more shaky. Even today, I just saw someone say about a New York bank that had got shut down that I didn't even know about. And so it goes back to this idea that Bitcoin's going to get halved. So when it gets halved, there's a frenzy for it. And they're like, oh my God. And even the story alone is good enough. It's going to get halved. Oh, wow. What does halving mean? Oh, it's going to get more scarce. What else gets halved? Nothing else. Oh, so that's going to be more scarce. Oh, they're going to print more money. And at first, only a few people know that. It's like the internet nerds and the deep divers. And then it goes on to the social medias, and then it gets to X. And every 4 years, Bitcoin's going to have, and every 4 years, more people know about it. There's also Moore's law, I believe. He says like anything digital expands exponentially through digital creation. So like the fact that it's a digital form of money means it's going to expand. And so when Bitcoin has the halving, people they overvalue it, and there's a frenzy, and people jump. And what happens is it flushes the price too hot, right? And then you have the people who just wait too long, and their emotions they don't get in, and they don't get in, and they only get in at the very end, and they create that what we call a blow off top, right? And then it gets back to value again, and then we go through the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle helps a lot. The fact that it halves every 4 years, just in case anyone's not, doesn't understand that, every 4 years, Bitcoin's going to halve, meaning the amount of Bitcoin created during the mining process gets cut in half. So the amount that you get put out in circulation gets cut in half. And so, to explain it, I guess, so it's the human emotion, which you're going to see anyway, coupled with this idea of scarcity that creates the ballooning effect for Bitcoin. But then it will kind of reserve, and that's why you get these ebbs and flows in the market.
Yeah, and with these recurring cycles and the frenzies and everything, how important do you believe your risk management is then with these different these ebbs and flows of Bitcoin?
Well, that's why when you first get into the cycle and you don't know the cycle, that's why I can trade circles around a lot of finance guys that have been financed for 10, 15 years and they still don't understand Bitcoin cycle. Like they still keep comparing it to a risk on asset. And I'm like, dude, like every 4 years I'm going to get rich. I just have to hold, I just have to buy in the bear market. So what I do too is do what's unconventional. When the market stinks, when YouTubers are barely getting views, when no one's out there, I'm live streaming, right? You see me day in and day out, no day off. And I'm finding Caspa below a penny. It's now at 18 cents. My whole team is up 18x. And we're looking for that to go to $2. Like I could end up turning, my $50,000, $60,000 into, $5-10 million, right? But it happened way in the bear market when no one was paying attention. So like, and again, yes, that's the issue. If you're not, and that's why I really, plug myself here, but why a trading group in crypto is, I think, a lot more important than it. Trading groups are great in general, but in the stock market, you could maybe learn how to trade and then just, but if you don't understand the cycle of crypto, you can be a great trader. Go take a trading class, understand your stochastics, Fibonacci, all this stuff. And then you just still might think you're in a little dip or something. And that's the bear market beginning. And you need to understand the 4-year cycle and you need to know where you are. That is the one thing that gives big crypto a bad name. People would jump into crypto at the peak of a 4-year cycle and then tell all their family and friends that it sucks. It went down. It doesn't make you any money. But they didn't understand the cycle at all. It's also the reason why I'm more wealthy than they are, because the average person can't see the cycle yet, right? So like I see that cycle, that's my ATM, right? And I've been using that cycle now. This would be my 3rd cycle. And like, if this one plays out, it'll be 3 for 3 that I knew when to buy and then when to slowly cash out. But I also had to get beat in the first cycle and it didn't happen overnight. And as a trader, your millionaire wins and your big wins, they come from years of losses and years of persevering. And so most people won't go that far to hit the $1 million trade or the bigger trade. They'll eventually pan off. Again, back to what I said before, they'll do 2 to 3 years, never hit that last 3 to 4 years of whatever. Really, you have to do something till you become successful at it. We don't know how long that takes. You just have to keep doing it till you win. You will win if that's your mentality.
Would you say, is there anything outside of these cycles that would make crypto trading from the timing and the risk portion of it different than trading maybe other products?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like I said, like if you don't understand the halving of Bitcoin and you think you're going to kind of just dabble, for instance, like once we start a pretty nice downtrend, it's a pretty good fun market to short, and it's going to be in a short downtrend, and we're going to be able to go in and out back to the trend, right? So it's really, to me, it's there's one aspect of it too. There's Bitcoin pairs. You don't have Bitcoin pairs when you're trading the stock market, right? And what Bitcoin pairs are, you can buy, you have 2 different ways to buy an altcoin, really. The USD pair and the Bitcoin pair. And this actually, is good to answer your question because this does give a different aspect of trading that has nothing, the stock market doesn't even have this. So even if you were trained in the stock market, you wouldn't know what a Bitcoin pair was. It's you buy Bitcoin, you buy the altcoin for the Bitcoin, the Satoshi, and then when the altcoin goes up, you sell it back into Bitcoin. You never use a stable coin or a USD equivalent, right? And then sometimes, again, sometimes you said buy or sell Bitcoin. Every once in a while, I may have like $5,000 in BTC that I just grab for a swing trade. It's very rare though. Normally, once something is Bitcoin in my portfolio, once it's a certain amount, it's off to a hardware wallet. But there's every once in a while I will make, like right now, Sol is beating up on Bitcoin. It's a really good trade right now, Sol Bitcoin. If you put 1 Bitcoin in Sol, it's a good chance it's going to turn into maybe 1 or 2 or 3. All right. Other than just keeping the Bitcoin by itself. Will be a taxable event, but when you sell it, you at least even after you pay taxes, you turn 1 Bitcoin into 3 and pay maybe a Bitcoin and a half in taxes.
Right, and you mentioned, earlier in your trading career, mistiming the cycles, or you probably took your lumps at the beginning. Can you give an example of maybe one of your most challenging moments that you had to go through as a trader and how you overcame it?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll always remember this for the rest of my life because I was, at the time, I didn't know I was like a speculative investor, but now I realize that's what I am. I'm someone who looks at emerging technologies and places money in them, hoping one of them will win. Right. Uh, that's really what I do for a living. All right. I know who I am and what I do as an investor. You know, uh, crypto was just another emerging technology that I found interesting. Right. I might find another thing. Like I believe hydrogen cell is going to be big. I think we're going to run everything on hydrogen in the next 10 years, but that's my thought.
Mhm.
I don't know. But so my biggest moment was, struggling moment was I eventually saved 40 grand. I had a little bit of experience in the market. I understood a little bit of the gold and silver. I've been buying gold and silver and I was kind of moving to like swing trading. And, I wasn't into Bitcoin yet. I didn't know about cryptocurrency. Must have been 2015 and maybe even 2014. And I find this stock called Jivo. And what they do is they fly, Alaskan Airlines flies on corn oil. Bang, right? And again, here I am. I'm thinking I'm the smart guy that's in on something that no one else can see, right? I'm like, oh, that's it. They're going to start making corn oil and all the planes are going to fly on it. And this is new and they're in on it and they know how to do it. Problem was their ethanol plant wasn't up to speed. They were wasting a lot. They never ended up getting more flights. It almost looked like a pump and dump scheme in a way. And I bought in at 138 the day the flight went on the news. I didn't understand what buy the rumor, sell the news was. Like that was when everyone was supposed to sell the thing. Everyone knew already about the flight for weeks. So I didn't understand the market. So I bought in at 120, 130 and it went to 90. Then it went to 80. This is a horrible story. Then it went to 70. Then it went to 40, and I would dollar cost average try to get my way out. So when it hit 40, I doubled in. Eventually, I think I had about 14 grand in the stock, right? And I only wanted to put like 2 or 3. You get sucked into this stuff. It's insane. I have a third of my life savings in there. It's killing me. I remember I worked a night shift at the time. I wake up on the couch because the night before I fell asleep on the couch, I got home at like 2 in the morning. I wake up alone because my wife would usually go to work at 7. And I'm alone and I see, and it's back at 80. And 80 was my even point. I had bought so much at the lows that 138 that I brought 80 to even, and I didn't sell. I was like, this is great. Like, and next day, 3 weeks later, back to 40 again. I was like, oh my God. And it's like having an ulcer in you. Like every day you look at it, it's eating you away. You were supposed to show your wife you were a winner. Now you've taken your money that you've saved together and you're a loser. It feels horrible. It's the worst feeling in the world. And eventually it got to 80 again. I didn't take it again, dude. Come on, Sam. What's wrong with you, bro? Then they decided to reverse split the stock. This is when they decide it's underneath $1 for too long on the NASDAQ. They have to keep
Yep.
it back above $1. They got to split the stock. So they it's 40 cents, but they make it look like it's a buck and they give you more shares and cut your shares in half, right? And then they did it 3 times. If you go and look at that stock right now, it might say it's a buck. It's literally like less than a penny from where I got it at. They chopped the thing to zero. I sold it off for like 2 grand, a grand, and I took my $14,000 loss and I was only worth 40 grand. It sucked. And it took a lot of my time, like 8 or 9 months of my life.
And
I remember,
stress.
I called my dad and he was like, don't worry. He said, I walked into the market Black Monday, opened up an account. The guy thought I was out of my mind, like, he's like, it happens, man. My dad was so cool about it. Like, I thought he was like, wow, you lost a lot. He said, hey, keep swinging, man. You're a
Yep.
swinger. He said, you're going to find, before Bitcoin, he said, you're going to find something. I believe in you, Sam. You're smart. You're innovative. He's like, just keep saving your money. He said, keep working and saving your money so you have something when that opportunity comes. Keep saving your money. My dad passed in last May. My mom passed in November. So I love bringing them up and remembering their awesome character and how they taught me. They're really the main reason I'm here today too.
Yeah, and that whole story probably helped you probably shaped you to deal with the markets even a little bit better, right?
Oh,
Um,
100%, man. Now
yeah.
when I go through dips and stuff, and that wasn't I can tell you a bunch of other ups and downs I've been through in the market. So like now when I see a dip, like I can handle my account being down a quarter million, a million. Like I really, I fell in love with God and I fell in love with energy. Money is just a bypart, a piece of my life. I just actually closed on a house and I had to go inspect it right now. And the owner met me and he took me through the whole house and all the things he did. And he was a smart dude, patent engineer. And I was just like soaking it up. He was 82 years old, and he was at the end, he said, I never worked for money. I never once worked for money. He's sitting there in a multi-million, $1 million house in a gated community overlay. He's like, I never worked for money. I went after my dreams, my passion, and I went after things that made me feel, like that how he was a mind guy. He wanted to work with his mind. I feel I'm the same way. Like I like the charts and the way I use math is just a part of exploring my creative mind. Like I'm so blessed that money comes out of it, you know? And so losing money also helps you get detached from it, which helps you realize it's not everything.
So here on the space of Bitcoin and blockchain, how do you stay up to date with such rapid technological advances? Things are changing all the time, especially in a digital currency. Let's say, how do you keep up to date on what's happening from a technology standpoint?
It's funny. I ask myself that every day because my life is like a smorgasbord of like picture some guy rolling, picture every single day, like a laundromat. Just like it feels like some days I'm just, a gerbil on a wheel. But yet, like, I got into Casper early before most people knew, and I could see that it was proof of work was better than proof of stake, in my humble opinion. And I like that it had its own layer, and I could see that it was going to be fast pretty early, and I could see that it had a tech that other coins didn't. Uh, and and then I could understand that BRC20s were going to be pretty big, and I think they'll have a resurgence. And I have a good BRC20 portfolio, and I could see the narratives to AI was going to come, and then RWA. I know kind of which coins are RWA. Now I don't get it immediately. Like a couple times, I'll be a little late to the party, but I'll understand what's happening, and it's the consistency. My live stream every day. What I love about my live stream is because I'm there every day, people know I'm there every day. So I'm like that general store that's always open. So if you want to talk or you want to hang out, you always know there's someone on the front steps, right? So when
Right.
someone finds out about a new coin or something innovative, and I've also helped a lot of people and helped them create, help them learn how to trade and they've made money. So when they find out about something, they come to my live stream. They send a $20 super chat. Hey, Sam, this is a new coin. You should check it out. So by me going live every day, I stay on the innovative tip because I'm able to see, people are bringing the information. My stream becomes the trend. Like my life is
Yeah.
the trend. Like the trend comes to me. Like it's weird. Like, and I've learned that's why people who are consistent stay at the head of the trend. And that's why I learned that consistency is why you win. And that's another, it goes back to why I don't take these days off because I'll miss some narrative or I'll miss some moment. And one day always turns to one day next week. And then maybe one day another next week. And then eventually that might be 8 or 9 days here and there that I never would have taken off. So like I'm very cautious of giving in to anything that takes away. You know what I mean? Like even if
Yeah.
it's minuscule, I want to be very cautious of my focus and discipline.
Yeah, and I have a feeling your viewers rely on your stream for news and updates on what's going on. But outside of your stream, are there any resources or communities that you use to keep up to date on everything?
A lot of cool things that I do is I have bots that tell me when any coin hits an exchange. So say
Okay.
I'm not even researching a new AI project, but let's say KuCoin or MXC says we're launching this tomorrow, right? So I know, and then I go, what is that? And I research it, and then I know what's hot. So just by knowing what exchanges are doing, I'm pretty hip onto what's happening. Now sometimes these coins hit decentralized exchanges first, like Palm AI that I got into like 30 cents, and it went to $1.80, and we got in first on Uniswap, and then went to MEXC, right? And that's another cool way to make a quick gain is to get in on a DEX and flip it to a SEX. But the main crux of that idea is whenever I see something that's really new, I may kind of wait a little bit to see how it also evolves, because if it hits the
Right.
exchange, it's a little better to get on. Sometimes you don't get on exactly at the beginning. But so I use that. That's a really good, like that, even though, because it's not really a resource most people think about, but it will lead you in the right direction. And I like token metrics too. Like I do token metrics with my trading group once a week. I don't blindly buy what they like, but a lot of times I'll find something on a new exchange. I'll research it, and then they'll have it too. They have, I like Ian and what he did, and I like bringing that in. And then I also just, crypto rank is a good place to see what's going on. And then the charts alone, like the whole market will be flat, but I'll see Solana and a flag above a previous support or resistance. So I scan hundreds of coins. So because I scan hundreds of coins and I have a high probability win rate, I can see what coin's likely going to move. And then that tells me where the trend's going. And then I also can kind of find out what's going to happen first. So like when Tone takes off, when Tone takes off to 14 and 18 in a couple of months, and everyone's like, I can see it because it's in a parabolic rising wedge. There's a high probability that Tone's going to be, going to double up from 17 to 34 billion market cap. So like, but again, nothing's guaranteed, but the charts also, my ability to read the charts gives me an edge because I have way higher probability of what's likely going to happen than most people that are just like looking at coins.
Yeah, and I see that in your videos, and you specialize more in the technical analysis. Do you also use more of a fundamental analysis for your long-term decisions? And does it have as much of a place in the crypto space than the price movements and analyzing that?
It's interesting. It's so niche. Um, I have a good ability. Like when I was a real estate agent, I did some commercial and residential. Some people couldn't do that. They could only do residential. Like I have a good ability to be somewhat of a chameleon. I can trade the 1 minute scalp leverage while I have a 2 year trade open on Bitcoin, 10 year trade open on Bitcoin, right? But that took years. And the point what I'm saying about that um, is, you know, when it comes to trading, right? You have different aspects of trading. Uh, Everyone draws this line like you have to be a fundamental analyst or a technical analyst. And once they see a guy with the charts, they assume all he does is trade charts and he doesn't read anything about the new, because there's some guys that I just trade the charts. To me, when I golf, right? And I don't golf a lot, but when I do, I step as far away from the hole as the ball, from the ball as the ball is from the hole. It tends to give me a perspective. I tend to feel the whole point of this weird metaphor is I want to find as much information about the environment
Yeah,
as I can before I hit the shot. Even if it's subconscious, it just will help you a little bit. You don't realize it.
routine.
So I always go to fundamentals, right? Because I want to know, like, also and then I look at the chart. Now it doesn't, there's many times I've traded something on a chart that I don't know what it is and I don't care what it is, but that's what I'm in and out, or I'm only going to do it for a couple of days and I'm in it for the money. Something I'm going to build a strong portfolio in, I'm going to be doing heavy TA and heavy FA. I'm doing it all because I want to know when the token unlocks are coming. I want to know how much circulating supply is out. I need to know the tokenomics. I need to understand the dynamic of the process of miners. And I want to know, did they do an airdrop? When is that airdrop coming out? Like you could have a great technical and then the airdrop could come out too, So you gotta in cryptocurrency, and that's another reason why I think trading groups are really important in cryptocurrency, at least for a few years, and then you can go on your own because there's so much to learn. It's very similar to a college, and it's going to take, it took me 4 to 5 years to figure this stuff out. I definitely have a college degree in like cryptocurrency.
Right. The Mark Twain quote, right?
I never let my schooling interfere with my education. Amen, man.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Well, hey, finally, I wanted to leave it to you. I was looking to see if you had any advice for traders who are looking to develop a similar mindset that you have for this, as well as building a long-term success with their trading.
You got to fall in love with the journey and the growth. If you're someone that likes to watch plants grow, trading is for you. If you're someone that gets frustrated when things aren't there yet, trading is going to frustrate you. It's not going to be an overnight process. It seems like whenever you go on Twitter and research, the guy made millions, the guy did this.
Right.
But
Yeah.
really deep dive all of us traders, you'll see we lost for years. We had pain, we went up and down, and we just stayed consistent over time and eventually found our edge. And some of us were hanging on by a fingernail before we finally found our edge. Like we were close to being done. And I know a lot of traders can connect to that. Another thing is you need to stay disciplined as great as things are going for me. And, if say I see someone do a $2 million leverage trade and I got 100 grand lying around and I want to show people and then I just blow, I could easily blow a 50 grand trade. You can get vexed and you can start to basically demolish the castle you've built. I've read so many stories, kids making 60 mil ended up with nothing at the end of the rally. Like what? Like your account was at $60 million and you just kept leverage trading it back down. And then next thing you know, you're back to your 1 mil and then you're so pissed. Like I got to leave with 10. So you try to get 10 out of the one and then you're back to, it could be a devastating journey for a lot of people. Another thing I want to say is they have this quote, like only 1% of 10% of traders make money and all this. But like whenever you say that quote, remember it's coming from people repeating the same thing. Every time you hear someone say something that everybody says, write it down for a second, sit alone and ask yourself what it really means. 99% of traders lose money. What's a trader? Someone that got money from their bank account and put it in a trade. That's a trader. So they're saying is 99% of people that believe they could make money in the markets lose money. None of those people were traders. You see what I mean? It takes 5 years to call yourself a trader, in my humble opinion. So if you really want it and you go as far as I am, the odds are going to go higher for you than the average person that just throws money at the market. Don't get discouraged by what everybody else says. You're your own person. If you have the focus and discipline, you can achieve greatness in any single craft, any single industry in the world, man. Whether it's trading, carpentry, I don't care what it is. If that's your desire, and to have that desire, you really need to fall in love with the journey. If you're always worried about the money that you're going to make, where you're going to end up at the end, you got to be in love with the learning process. And that's really how somehow, I don't know, explain it, but that's how success evolves.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Yeah, and you know what? Before we get out of here, Sam, where can the people find you? Website, socials, anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Cryptolifer.com. Check us out. And we'll be redoing that website again with the portal and stuff, but it's still a beautiful website right now. Cryptolifer.com. Check me out at CryptoLifer33. And, youtube.com/CryptoLifer, at CryptoLifer. They have them now too at YouTube. So, yeah, just if you just Google CryptoLifer, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's going to come up and you'll see me. And yeah, I'm here every single day, no days off, baby, and doing what I love to
Love it.
do. Teaching people that if you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work, you know? But
Yeah.
nothing is easy. Nothing is easy.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime. Congratulations again on the newborn. I know you got some diapers to change. So we'll let you go, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Yeah, well, God bless you, man. They're still at the hospital, so I'm gonna go check on them in a couple hours, and then after I go through some trades, see what's happening, and then call it a day. But thank you so much for this opportunity. Any single time anyone puts any amount of attention or spotlights me in any single way, shape, or form, I'm always really grateful to God and to the people. So thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. From my family to yours.
Of course, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.